If you haven't already, watch the part 1 next, to see the first batch of characters. Linny. He works for a Harbinger, which can have him carry out dangerous tasks that can lead to his demise. In addition, he has a dark and mysterious history that resulted in destroyed nobles. Someone from his past could go and assassinate him as a way of revenge, or someone might try to attack him after realizing he works for a pretty problematic and sometimes evil organization. Lynette. The exact same reason as his brother. She might carry out risky tasks that could cause her demise, and someone could go and assassinate her for her past and having dealings with the Harbinger. Mika. While mapping out an unexplored area, he might get attacked or have a similar accident, not knowing the area is dangerous. However, I would say the chances of that happening are low, so he'd probably just die of old age or other natural means. Mona. This is a little unlikely, with how careful she is, but considering she's an expert astrologist, I could imagine her witnessing or foreseeing something she shouldn't have that leads to her demise. Nahida. Being a god, she will experience erosion eventually, although she might have a plan to decrease it. I doubt there's a way to fully prevent it though. Navia. She is the head of an organization that investigates matters that people would not. During one of her missions, she encounters a particularly tricky and violent thief who attacks her. She would have been fine too if the criminal didn't attack civilians, and she had no choice but to protect them. Nuvalet. The Heavenly Principles finally awaken from their slumber and punish the Hydro Dragon from regaining his powers. The once Hydro Archon trapped them at first, but sooner or later, the Heavenly Principles will realize that Fontaine's divine throne was destroyed, and that the Sovereign reclaimed the power he once had. Nilou. She would likely die of old age, or other natural sources. She really doesn't have any danger around her. Ningguang. She is a big target for many organizations, as her influence over Li Wei, the business industry, and the entire Tevat, is exceedingly powerful. She will be assassinated, either for her status and power, or for the mass amount of mora she has. Noelle. She would overwork herself, and put too much strain on her body, all because she wanted to be a knight. She'd get sick, or be greatly injured, as she put her body through so much training and practice, wanting to meet the expectations of Jean and everyone else. Chi-Chi. She is blessed by a body that cannot die, so she will likely be overcome by erosion. Come to think of it, she is already mentally eroded, as her body is undead and has a very bad memory. Erosion will just make it 10 times worse. Raiden Shogun, not the puppet. As with most gods, she will also fall to erosion. However, she found a way to prevent its effects by meditating in her plane of euthymia. But after the Archon quest, she isn't eternally isolating herself and her plane anymore, and for good reasons, but at the cost of her now being vulnerable to the effects of erosion. Razor. He may act and feel like a wolf, but he is still a human in the end. He will eventually get sick from the lack of proper food and nutrition, and the severe lack of hygiene, as he always lives in the forest. Rosaria. During one of her missions, being the purveyor of justice, she ends up meeting someone who is a close match to her. Someone also skilled in combat, but was committing a crime. After the intense fight, it ends with her being fatally wounded, with no one nearby, as it was late at night. Kokomi. Being constantly busy, she will overwork herself and be sick because of it. If not for that, maybe someone, or a group of people, will try to assassinate her, as she is known to be clever and an amazing strategist in war. They might want her gone, seeing her as a threat. Sayu. As a ninja, she is bound to receive missions, requesting her to do dangerous tasks that will end with her getting eliminated. Add to that she might accidentally doze off again and mess up, like in the Ayadori festival, or worse, she might get caught and be slain then and there. Shenhe. She might get attacked again in Li Wei, but the people she will encounter will be no match for her. She would likely just die of old age, or other natural means. Hazel. During one of his investigations, he identifies a smart, but violent criminal, who would stop at nothing for his crime to not be exposed. It ends with him being brutally attacked, as he is cornered, with no way out. Sucrose. She loves conducting research on unusual things, like her vision, even if it might cause harm. She did an experiment on an unusual substance, unaware of the reaction it would cause. It created a giant explosion that destroyed her lab and everything around it, including her child. He encounters a formidable opponent and challenges him to a duel. Suffice it to say, he was outmatched, but he refused to back down and kept fighting anyway. The opponent showed absolutely no mercy, not giving him any time to catch his breath. They fought until one was dead, and in the end, Child was defeated, but he was satisfied. It was an amazing experience. Toma. In his visit to the docks, he learns about an organization's plan of attacking the Kamisato siblings later that night. Having no choice, he makes the two of them leave and hide, while he stays at their estate to be a distraction and buy them time. He ends up sacrificing himself for the sake of his master, being loyal until the very end. Tighnari. He would likely just die of old age or other natural means. Maybe he'll go to the desert for something, but end up passing out, as he can't stand the heat, but the chances of that happening are very unlikely. He knows better. Venti. Being an immortal god, he would succumb to erosion after a period of time. Perhaps he wouldn't want to go out that way and just drink until he passes out. Wanderer. Like Venti and the other immortal beings I mentioned before, I would normally say that he would die due to erosion, but the Wanderer is a puppet. I'm not sure if he can even experience its effects, as he is an artificial being. If I had to guess, he probably isn't immune, as he has his own emotions and feelings. Rightly. He would likely just die of aging or other natural sources. I would have mentioned that he would get sick from the lack of sunlight, but luckily there is a nurse who can sustain him with all the proper nutrients. Xianling. Being an adventurous chef, she ate everything that seemed delicious. Unfortunately, while exploring the region of Sumeru, she ended up eating a plant that was poisonous and not edible. She got severely sick afterward, and it turns out there is no cure. Xiao. After centuries of fighting and doing everything he could do, he eventually yielded to his karmic debt, finally taking him out. At long last, he experienced peace. No more pain, no more suffering. Xingqiu. He aims to be the embodiment of chivalry, like the heroes from the books he reads. He might end up sacrificing himself for someone, but I think the scenario of that happening is pretty unlikely. He will likely just die of natural means. Xinyan. She doesn't have any enemies, and her profession is relatively safe. She would likely just die of old age or other natural sources. Miko. As a fox spirit, she can live for multiple centuries, like the Adeptus. Sadly, she would be afflicted by the effects of erosion after a while. Her memory is really good, which might help her endure it for longer, or possibly just make the erosion worse, as there is more to forget. Yanfei. Speaking of Adeptus, she is also one. That means that she will likely die from erosion as well, being a long-life species. Yao Yao. She's pretty adventurous, so she might encounter something powerful that attacked her, or she might fall off a cliff, or a similar accident. I doubt the Adeptus won't protect her though, being very fond of her, so it's more likely she'll just go out by natural means. Ye Lan. Her work is pretty dangerous, always dealing with shady people. Even though she is capable of protecting herself, I can see her getting unlucky, being attacked, and ending up severely hurt. She might also be part of an accident, like in the Perilous Trail event, or the explosions at her story quest. Yuima. Yeah. I can imagine a situation where something ends up accidentally exploding, most likely fireworks, and she ends up greatly injured, with the fire going everywhere. She might be immune to fireworks, like how Klee might be to bombs, but I couldn't find anything that suggests that. Yunjin. Like Xinyan, she doesn't have any enemies, and her profession is safe for the most part. She would likely just die of old age or other natural sources. Zhongli. And finally, for our last character, he will most certainly die from the consequence of erosion. He is a god who has already lived a very long life, but one day, he too will join his pet dragon in forgetting his memories, personality, and power. And that is all of the Genshin Impact characters, and how I think they will die. What are the deaths that you agree or disagree with? Comment down below. Perhaps you have your own idea on how the characters will perish. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Thank you all so much for watching. Give a like if you ended up enjoying this video, and subscribe to see more of my future videos. Bye.